Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to really think about that feeling when your alarm goes off on a random Tuesday morning. Do your feet hit the floor with purpose? Are you practically leaping out of bed because you are genuinely excited about the projects waiting for you? Or do you hit snooze like 3 times, feeling this awful pit of dread in your stomach, just thinking about the commute and the endless inbox waiting to consume your day? It's a pretty fascinating divide, right? For the longest time, people just assumed that finding a career you actually love was completely a matter of blind luck, or maybe just having the right connections. But as it turns out, there is actually a hard, measurable science behind career happiness. So today, we are cracking the code of job satisfaction by exploring a really foundational framework known as Holland's theory. By the time we wrap up this explainer, you are going to look at your own career and honestly, the people you work with every single day in a completely new light.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why do you hate Mondays? I mean, it's a massive cultural cliche, right? You've got the dreaded Sunday night scaries, the heavy, exhausted sigh as that alarm clock starts blaring. But if you're experiencing this on a regular basis, it usually points to a very real, very frustrating problem. Basically, it's that feeling of being a square peg aggressively hammered into a round hole. And think about what hammering that square peg actually feels like in real life. It's the burnout. It's the constant clock watching. It's that utter bone-deep exhaustion you feel at 5 p.m., even if all you did was sit at a desk all day. When your job demands you to be someone you naturally aren't, every single task feels like wading through thick mud. And look, it isn't about a lack of work ethic. It is actually about a fundamental psychological misalignment between who you inherently are and what your daily environment demands of you.
So to unpack how we actually fix this, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at why job fit matters. Second, we'll get Holland's theory explained. Third, we're going to take a deep dive into the 6 personality types. And finally, we will look at the impact of fit on real-world outcomes.
Let's jump right in with Section 1, Why Job Fit Matters. Before we get into the specific personality types, we absolutely need to understand that job satisfaction is not just some nice-to-have, feel-good bonus. It's a critical, measurable metric with massive real-world consequences. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast we're talking about. Think of your natural personality kind of like a pristine, high-performance sports car. When we have a good fit, meaning the driver and the environment are perfectly matched, we see this amazing chain reaction of positive outcomes. It's literally like putting that sports car on a smooth, freshly paved highway. It performs beautifully, it hits top speeds effortlessly, and the driver is just having a blast. In the workplace, this translates directly to higher job satisfaction, higher performance, and much lower turnover. People stay and they absolutely thrive. But on the flip side, a poor fit practically guarantees a total disaster. Imagine taking that exact same low-to-the-ground sports car and forcing it to drive up a rocky, muddy, deeply rutted mountain trail. I mean, it's going to underperform instantly, it's going to get severely damaged, and eventually the engine is just going to completely break down. The car itself isn't broken. The environment is just completely wrong for it. In an office setting, this breeds intense frustration, which leads directly to plummeting performance and ultimately results in really high resignation rates.
Moving right along to Section 2, Holland's theory explained.
So you're probably wondering, how do we actually make sure we get people off the muddy mountain trail and onto the right highway? Well, Holland's personality job theory, which was developed by John Holland, is widely used by career counselors all over the world for a very good reason. It clearly defines that there are 6 core personality types, and it makes a really bold, proven claim. Your daily satisfaction and whether or not you eventually quit depend entirely on matching your specific personality with your job environment. The core premise here is actually incredibly empowering. It means that every single person has the capacity to perform at an exceptionally high level, provided their environment actually matches their natural style. Imagine someone who is just a terrible, stressed out, constantly exhausted corporate accountant who suddenly thrives, wins awards, and loves life when they switch to teaching middle school math. They didn't magically get smarter overnight or suddenly develop a better work ethic, right? Their environment simply changed to match their innate traits. You don't need to change who you fundamentally are, you just need to find the environment that rewards who you already are.
All right, let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. The 6 personality types. As we go through these next categories, I really want you to actively think about yourself, your friends, and your colleagues, and see if you can spot exactly where they naturally belong. First up, we have the realistic type. These folks are the absolute doers of the world. Their personality traits lean heavily toward being practical, stable, maybe a bit shy, and conforming to established physical rules. They aren't looking to reinvent the wheel in some massive 3-hour brainstorming meeting. They literally just want to get under the car and make sure the wheel actually works.
The realistic type strongly prefers physical activities that require genuine skill, strength, and coordination. They thrive in these hands-on environments where they can see immediate, tangible results. Just imagine a really skilled mechanic wiping the grease off their hands at the end of the day, listening to a perfectly purring engine they just rebuilt from scratch, or a farmer looking out over a freshly tilled field. For them, that is a massive, tangible win. Now, if you took these same people and forced them to sit in a sterile conference room debating abstract marketing theories all day, they would feel utterly suffocated. But give them skilled, coordinated, physical work, they find immense, quiet satisfaction in that.
In sharp contrast to that, we have the investigative type. If the realistic type is the doer, the investigative type is absolutely the thinker. These are the kids who drove their parents completely crazy by taking apart the family toaster just to see how the heating coils worked. Their personality is highly analytical, deeply curious, original, and fiercely independent. They prefer activities that involve intense thinking, researching, organizing, and above all else, understanding the ultimate why behind things. They don't just want to do a task, they demand to solve the puzzle of the task. The best environments for them are roles like a biologist analyzing really complex cell structures under a microscope, an economist predicting subtle market trends, a mathematician proving a seemingly impossible theorem, or an investigative news reporter independently chasing down the hidden facts of a convoluted story. They absolutely require environments that reward relentless intellectual curiosity over physical labor or rigid, boring routines.
Now, what's really interesting about what we're looking at here is how it brilliantly illustrates our third category, the artistic type, and directly contrasts it with the realistic type we were just talking about. The artistic personality is highly imaginative, emotional, idealistic, and quite frankly, often a bit disorderly. They prefer creative, unsystematic activities and pure self-expression. This makes them perfect painters, musicians, visionary writers, or avant-garde interior decorators. Now imagine taking this free-spirited, emotionally driven artistic type and forcing them to work as a highly conforming, structured data entry clerk or an assembly line worker. The crushing weight of endless spreadsheets and unyielding rules would just completely destroy their spirit. It would be a total disaster. And conversely, forcing a practical, stable, literal-minded, realistic type to become an abstract painter would cause massive anxiety and frustration. This powerful visual contrast really proves exactly why your daily environment absolutely must align with your internal inherent traits.
Moving on to our fourth category, we have the social type. As the name implies, this personality is fundamentally sociable, friendly, cooperative, and deeply understanding. Honestly, they are the empathizers of our society. A social type is driven by a profound, innate preference for helping, healing, and developing other people. For a social type, getting a genuine "thank you so much for helping me through this" is often worth vastly more to their daily job satisfaction than a surprise yearly bonus. Human connection isn't just a fun little perk for them, it is a strict, non-negotiable requirement for their happiness. This is exactly why you see them thriving as dedicated social workers, compassionate teachers guiding their students, empathetic counselors, or clinical psychologists. Let me put it this way. If you lock a social type in an isolated, windowless cubicle with zero human interaction and ask them to just process paperwork all day, their spirit and their productivity will completely wither and die, literally no matter how much money you pay them.
Finally, let's look at how the ambitious, power-driven traits directly contrast with the highly structured, conforming traits to clearly differentiate our final two categories. On one side, we have the enterprising type. This personality is ambitious, energetic, confident, and, even a little domineering sometimes. They absolutely love influencing others, taking on high-stakes leadership roles, and wielding power. They are your fierce lawyers arguing in a crowded courtroom, real estate agents closing massive multi-million-dollar deals, PR specialists controlling a global narrative, and highly ambitious business managers. They desperately want to steer the ship and feel the wind in their face. But then look over at the conventional type. They are almost the exact opposite in their daily preferences. Their personality is conforming, practical, efficient, and wonderfully inflexible. They do absolutely not want to steer the ship wildly into the unknown. They just want to make sure the ship's daily log is perfectly maintained and every single regulation is met. They prefer rule-regulated, highly orderly, and structured activities. This makes them absolute superstars as meticulous accountants, corporate managers focused on lean processes, strict bank tellers, and file clerks. Imagine the hilarious disaster of swapping these two, right? The enterprising, adrenaline-fueled lawyer being forced to silently audit tax files all day in a back room, while the conventional, rule-loving accountant is suddenly forced to just wing it in a high-stakes courtroom trial. Literally, neither of them would survive the week.
Okay, that brings us to our final wrap-up in Section 4, the impact of fit.
So, now that we've mapped out these 6 distinct, completely fascinating ways that humans naturally operate, we really need to look at the real-world bottom line. And the crucial point is captured right here in this simple, undeniable equation. Better fit equals higher satisfaction and lower turnover. When a person's personality type clicks perfectly into their job environment, it's honestly like absolute magic happens. The employee doesn't just tolerate the job, they genuinely enjoy the work. They feel competent, they feel valued, and they feel understood. And if you're running a business, you have to understand why this matters so much. A poor fit is incredibly expensive. You aren't just paying for an employee's lower performance and their inevitable mistakes. You are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to constantly rehire and retrain people who inevitably quit because they are just deeply miserable. Retaining top talent without having to constantly micromanage them, that is the dream of every single organization. Better fit isn't just fluffy HR jargon, it is a foundational, proven business strategy for keeping people both highly effective and genuinely happy.
Which brings us to the absolute most important question of this entire explainer. Which of the 6 types are you? Are you the hands-on realistic, the endlessly curious investigative, maybe the expressive and free-flowing artistic, the deeply helpful social, the ambitious and driving enterprising, or the perfectly structured conventional? I want you to take a hard look at your current job. Does your daily environment naturally reward your innate traits, or are you trying to force a fit that simply isn't there? Understanding this framework isn't just about fun psychology theory, it is about taking active, deliberate control of your career happiness. Think about your type, analyze your current environment, and ask yourself, are you driving your sports car on a smooth, paved highway, or are you painfully trying to force it up a muddy, rocky mountain? Life is way too short to be the wrong fit. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.